Hello everyone. During the war, US dollars and South Vietnamese currency were the two most important forms of money used by the People's Army of Vietnam. But they weren't everything. To buy weapons and ammunition, the army needed to either transport them from the north or purchase them from neighboring countries. Bringing supplies down from the north was extremely costly and dangerous. American bombing raids made the journey so risky that even if you bought the weapons, there was no guarantee they'd ever reach the south. That's why the People's Army of Vietnam turned to a different strategy: buying supplies from neighboring countries and then moving them across the border. The question was, which country would be the most convenient? And what currency could be used? At the time, Prince Norodom Sihanouk was the head of state of Cambodia. He admired President Ho Chi Minh and held deep respect for his former teacher, Professor Ca Van Tin, who was then the Vietnamese ambassador in Phnom Penh. On top of that, Cambodia had a major advantage: the seaport of Sihanoukville. For these reasons, the People's Army of Vietnam chose the Cambodian Riel as their primary currency to buy food, ammunition, and weapons. But that raised another challenge: how to actually obtain enough Riels and then safely transport them back into Vietnam. To solve this, the Vietnamese High Command sent Comrade Duc Phuong to Cambodia under the cover of being a wealthy businessman. He was provided with gold and foreign currencies to fund operations, allowing him to both trade and build strong relationships with Cambodian officials. At one point, during the birthday of Cambodia's Minister of Security, Duc Phuong gifted him a brand-new Mercedes. In return, the minister gave him his own personal car as a keepsake. That car became a powerful symbol. Riding in it meant no police officer dared stop him. It gave him near immunity. And thanks to it, countless shipments of money and goods passed through without incident. The port of Sihanoukville soon became a lifeline. This was how the People's Army of Vietnam received massive amounts of aid from allied countries. Why the sea route? Because by land, American and South Vietnamese forces were too aggressive. And by sea, after the Vung Ro incident in 1965, secret shipments were heavily monitored. Sihanoukville was the only real option left. Of course, nothing came free. Corruption fees at the port were enormous: $2 for every kilogram of weapons, and $1 per kilogram for other goods. Sometimes Cambodian generals even refused cash and demanded weapons instead, taking as much as 30% of shipments. And beyond that, warehouses had to be rented with Cambodian Riels to store the cargo. Despite the high costs, the People's Army of Vietnam had no choice. The risks of traditional supply routes were far worse. Everything worked, until 1970, when General Lon Nol staged a coup against Prince Sihanouk. For the Vietnamese, this was a devastating blow. Unlike Sihanouk, who supported Vietnam, Lon Nol was backed by the United States. He immediately moved to cut off supply routes. He knew that Vietnamese forces in Cambodia relied heavily on the Riel to bribe officials, buy supplies, and pay for storage. So, he launched a secret plan: a sudden nationwide currency exchange that would render the old Riel notes worthless. His goal was simple: wipe out the People's Army of Vietnam's funds overnight. The exchange was announced only on the day it began, February 24, 1970, and ended just 2 weeks later on March 10, barely a week before the coup. It was designed to catch everyone off guard. And it worked. But fortune intervened. Lon Nol's government had all exchange notices, regulations, and forms printed at Cambodia's most advanced printing house, Warform. The manager of that facility was Tran Khai Nong, a young overseas Vietnamese whose father was a senior official in Cambodia's treasury. What Lon Nol didn't know was that both father and son were secret agents working for the People's Army of Vietnam. Years earlier, Tran Khai Nong had even been sent to Hong Kong by Hanoi to study printing technology. So by the time he returned, he was trusted as one of Cambodia's top experts. On paper, he looked completely assimilated. He had a Cambodian wife and a father respected by the government. Because of this, Lon Nol never suspected him. Through this hidden network, the People's Army of Vietnam learned about the secret currency exchange. But there was still a huge problem: the printing house was heavily guarded. No one could get in or out. Passing the information to the outside world seemed almost impossible. So how did the People's Army of Vietnam manage to get the warning out in time? How did they save their massive reserves of Cambodian riels from being wiped out overnight? Stay tuned for the next episode, where we uncover this dramatic story. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss it. And if you have suggestions for future topics, drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.